Hi, I'm Mary Kopczynski, the CEO of Regalytics. I hope you had a very relaxing summer because it's over, baby. The regulators are on fire, and there were 12,015 alerts this week, and it was a short week because of Labor Day. The regulator of the week is the SEC. First of all, they busted their first SPAC for violating conflicts of interest. Smells like Enron. We'll see. 2, they completed the 5-year cycle of crowdfunding inflation adjustment. The last one was 2017, so it was due this year. But essentially, it means that the thresholds of what you can raise and what you can do is just a little bit higher than before. 3, one of the commissioners, Mark Uyeda, complained in a speech that it was annoying to many, which is true, that the SEC has not prioritized crypto regulation in their upcoming plans. However, in the same breath, the SEC announced this week an entire division that is focused on crypto. The Office of Crypto Assets will focus on company filings by issuers. And finally, the 24X National Exchange I mentioned last week got their answer, and it wasn't great. Sorry, guys. The topic of the week is Russia, especially in that the Bank of Russia is amazing about talking about the impacts of the Russia-Ukraine war without ever mentioning the Russia-Ukraine war. Despite the global alerts of Russia aggression on this and Ukraine victims on that from all over the world, the Bank of Russia will publish alerts about a new coin with a flower on it, or perhaps some fall foliage. But this week, there were finally a number of substantive alerts, including a limit of sales of securities issued by unfriendly countries to non-qualified investors. There are also new incentives to promote commodity trading systems that are likely no longer available to them anymore. There's a helpful piece on how to notify investors of new fees and terms. And also, the ban on banks charging fees for foreign currency withdrawals has been extended. Meanwhile, in the US, in what is absolutely someday going to be a made-for-TV movie, the alleged leader of an Eastern European organized crime syndicate that operated in Brighton Beach, Sheepshead Bay, and Coney Island was linked to high-level Russian mafia members known as thieves-in-law, or thieves. He was extradited from Switzerland to the United States and is being charged with racketeering, conspiracy, arson, illegal gambling, and extortion. Who says regulation isn't interesting? Speaking of crime, the brother of a former product manager at Coinbase pled guilty to insider trading in crypto assets. He used confidential Coinbase information from his brother about which crypto assets were scheduled to be listed on the exchanges. And speaking of crypto, in a keynote speech by the chair of the Basel Committee on Banking Supervision and also the governor of the Bank of Spain, Pablo Hernández de Cos, observed that in the olden days, our word was our bond. Well, now, with smart contracts, our code can be our bond. I just thought that was cute. The CFPB issued a circular about data protection that is written in the most painfully legal way ever, but that doesn't take away that it is super important. It basically outlines when you're breaking the law by having insufficient data protection. Read it, or absolutely make sure your lawyer reads it. Speaking of data protection, the White House had a session with experts about the harms that tech platforms cause, and the need for greater accountability. They outline in these sessions some key risks, including competition, privacy, youth mental health, misinformation, disinformation, illegal and abusive conduct, including sexual exploitation, and algorithmic discrimination and lack of transparency. And speaking of the White House, they launched a dashboard where communities can see weather and other hazards from climate change that includes maps projecting how each community could be impacted in the future. The new Climate Mapping for Resilience and Adaptation portal is going to help state, local, tribal, and territorial governments get better strategies for long-term planning around climate risk. And finally, the Office of the Comptroller of Currency, the OCC, announced the appointment of Yu Nina Chen as the official Chief Climate Risk Officer. That's it this week for Regalytics, come get a subscription. It will vastly improve your life. Talk to you next Wednesday.